Hey friends, so we're getting ready for a big snowstorm to come, and I know I'm going to be reheating leftovers, chili, soups, stews, things like that in my lovely handy dandy microwave and bowl. And these get hot and they are hard to handle, and using hot pads is a pain, right? So I'm going to make it a little bit easier for you. Something you may have seen before, something you may have made before, but I have a little bit of a different twist on it. And yes, we're going to use our sewing machine, and we're going to make it a little bit easier to reheat and heat up your food in the microwave. Here it is. It's called a bowl cozy. Now you have probably seen these before and maybe made them before, but I have a little bit different way to do it. Let's get started. So what I have here are two 10-inch squares. This is how they started out. Sorry, I already cut some. This is my last piece that hasn't been cut. So I'll show you how to cut this one. But it is a 10 by 10 square of the Wrap N Zap, and I'll need two of them. You can use one if you don't want a really thick bowl cozy. I like a thick one so that I don't have to worry about heat coming through for my hands. And then you need two pieces of fabric of your choice. Now they can be contrasting to different colors if you like, two different patterns, coordinating, whatever you like. I'm using two of the same, and these are 11-inch squares. Now on your Wrap N Zap, you are going to cut these triangles out, and I'm going to show you how on this piece right here. For the two pieces of Wrap N Zap, all you have to do is take your 10-inch square, fold it in half, and both sides are the same. It doesn't matter which side is right, which side is wrong. It's the same. Okay, and then I'm going to use a ruler here, and I am going to put my folded edge against the edge of your ruler, and you're going to find 1 inch from the corner on the bottom, which is the open side, and mark that. So let's just get over here to where I can see the mark for the 1 inch, and I'm just going to put a pencil line. And then I'm going to go up 2 inches on the folded side. So make sure this is lined up on the edge. 2 inches up, and I'm going to mark that. And then all I'm going to do, let me go ahead and do this one as well. I like to cut right-handed, so I'm going to do the right-hand side of my fold. So I'm going to do this one the same. Fine. Where's my 1 inch mark? Okay. 1 inch here, and 2 inches here. Okay, we will do the same thing going the other direction. This is just the first two. And then all I'm going to do is, oops, sorry, I bumped you. Take my scissors, or you can take a rotary cutter, and you are going to cut from that point or that point to the opposite. Okay, and it doesn't have to be perfect, guys. This is on the inside. Okay, so I'm just going to start it here, line up my scissors at that, and cut. Okay, so basically you have a 2 inch bottom and a 2 inch top once you unfold it. Okay, so let's go to this one. Put my scissors on this point, line it up, and cut. And once again, it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. Those are trash. Let's fold it the other direction. And you can see you have two of the same triangles. You can line those up if you want to. Line up your corners. Do the same thing. Repeat. So that is your cut piece of Wrap N Zap to go inside your bowl cozy, and you will need two of them. So let me just grab one of these that we had already cut. Okay, they're all 4 sides the same, and you don't have to worry about like lining anything up, except we are going to take each piece of fabric now separately, and on the wrong side, so here's the right side of my fabric, on the wrong side, I'm going to take one of my Wrap N Zaps, one of my, I don't know, liner, batting, you can call it batting, I guess, we can call it batting, it's easier, but we're going to line this up to the center. Okay, now if you don't know where the center is of your fabric, and it doesn't have to be perfect. You can like iron some seams so you can line them up with the centers of your triangles. That's pretty good. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to sew a line diagonally from corner to corner on each outside corner. You can, if you want to, put a straight edge on this and draw a line if that helps you. I'm not that concerned about it being perfect. Hopefully this is in view for you. And you can put clips on this. You can put a pin in it. In fact, let me go ahead and grab a couple of pins just to... I'm not so good at this. Not an expert, guys. Just to make sure my fabric doesn't slip, and I'm putting it outside where I'm going to be sewing so that I don't sew over my pin. That's just going to keep my fabric from slipping. It shouldn't slip. This pretty well grabs on. And so I'm just going to start at the corner. I do a back stitch to start with. Now my machine is older and it's very finicky, so it's funny how I have to do a back stitch. I actually start on the inside, I go back, and then I go forward instead of doing it back and forth. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball this, line it up. I do have it on a standard stitch, all standard stuff. I think I have a thicker thread on this, but you can use standard thread. Doesn't matter. And this is just cotton fabric. Cotton is important so that it can go into your microwave. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go backward. And then sometimes I need to be a bit of a helper to make sure this goes forward. We're up. And where's my scissors? Now, this is definitely thicker thread. I'm not concerned about whether it's thick or thin. It will work. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and trim my threads. Okay, there we go. There's one. Repeat this way. Okay, so I can go ahead and take my pins out. It is now secured, and the reason for this is so that after you sew, you don't have layers separating from each other on the bowl cozy as you're using it, and it also helps to keep everything in place while you're working. So for this side, now what I want to do, we're going to do two things, but I'm going to go ahead, oops, I didn't line that up very nicely. I only have a very small edge here. What you really want is a 1/2 inch to go over the edge of your batting, and you're going to iron it down. Okay, this is the trick that I've kind of figured out. I haven't seen anybody else do this, so that's why I wanted to show you. Now this one is going to be more like a 1/4 inch because I didn't work very hard at lining that up. That's okay. So I'm going to flip you over and we are going to iron this. Okay, so all I'm going to do is fold over. I'm not folding this. I'm folding right to the edge of it. And I'm going to iron it down. And yes, this is just my little craft iron because my big iron is downstairs. And you're going to go ahead and just fold over all your corners. All right, now I'm going to open up these corners, and where this overlaps with basically 4 layers of fabric, I don't want 4 layers of fabric on top of my batting because I'm going to have another piece on top of this. So that's going to be 8 layers of fabric and 2 layers of batting, and that's a lot to try to sew through. So I'm just going to open this up, and you hopefully can see the creases at the edge. I'm going to cut from corner to corner, which is about halfway up that little square, making it a triangle. And that way when it folds over, I only have those 4 layers of fabric right there at the corner. So let's go ahead and do all 4 corners. Now we'll put these back in place. Now before I work on the outside edges, now I'm going to work on these triangles. These triangles are going to be your box. I think they call it a box pleat. What I'm going to do is fold my piece in half. Either, it doesn't matter which edge you fold first, which triangle you start with, but I am going to make sure this fabric stays nice and flat. I'm lining up the corners of my batting. Okay, I'm not going to worry about these flaps right now. I'm just worried about this little triangle. And I am going to sew from the inside tip of the triangle to the outside edge of my cozy. And I'm going to stay just inside the edge of that batting. Okay, so I like to start here just because that way, I don't know, I feel like everything is neater to the inside corner. If I line that up, the outside is not as big of a deal. I want it to lay nice and flat on the inside. So that is all lined up. Yeah, you've got some thick layers here. So I am starting, I don't know, that's like 1/8 of an inch from the edge. I try to get as close as I can. I'm going to start on the inside of my fabric, you know, and then I'm going to back stitch and then come forward. Make sure this folded down edge of fabric stays under, doesn't get flipped up. Kind of make sure that. Okay. All right, there is your first box pleat. Okay, so you sew this here right now on each piece of fabric, each layer. We're going to do the same, and then you don't have to sew these together later. Okay, you're going to only sew the outside edges. But what I'll do on each of these triangles is I'll sew this, and then I'm going to cut the fabric. Let's start from the edge of the triangle, the top of the triangle. Line it up with your batting. Okay, you can even cut it a little bit closer if you feel like you got have a lot there, you want it a little bit less fabric, but don't cut your stitches. Okay, so here is our box pleat. It's going to go just like this. When you're done, we're going to repeat this for all 4. Okay, I like to go opposite corners or opposite edges. Make sure your edge is still folded over. Get the tip of the triangle. 1/8 of an inch, and you can go deeper if you want to. It's going to end up to be a deeper and smaller cozy the further in your seam is sewn. I have to always check and make sure I'm lined up so that this edge has not slipped back too far. Okay, now that we've done those 2, we're gonna fold this in half. Okay, you can also see the center of your X. Gotta make sure those edges stay folded. That you can pin that or clip it. In fact, I use clips later on when we're putting the 2 pieces together. So that'll help keep that folded because you've got that other box pleat in the way. Back out of the way. Make sure we are even. Okay, now you have kind of the inside, you can tell. Right now it looks like the inside, it could flip the other direction and be the outside. So there's the inside of your bowl cozy, it's coming along. I am going to repeat the exact same process with this piece, and I'll get back to you in a minute. Now you have both of these looking the same. One is going to be the outside, one's going to be the inside, but yet it will be reversible. So the purpose of me folding over and ironing the edges is to keep me from having to have done this all wrong side out and then flip it right side out. Most people that I've seen on these videos don't have this extra edge. They have cut their two pieces, the fabric and the batting, the same size, and then just sewn it all together with everything lined up at the edges. And then what they're doing is they're putting right sides together, sewing right at the edge, and then flipping it right side out. I'm going to show you what happened to me when I did that. That was mine, okay? This is how it all came out. It's a shorter cozy because I didn't have the extra. You're going to see that with this. A little bit extra at the top. And it's so messy. You can poke your corners out nice and neat and you can iron it, but I'm going to tell you, when you wash this, it's not going to stay nice and neat. You're going to have to iron it. And you have this seam, I don't know if you can see it, on the outside edge where you flipped it right side out and had to sew it down, and it's just a mess. I wasn't happy with it. So that is why we came up with this, and we are going to be sewing wrong sides together with our right sides out. And here we go. You're going to make sure everything is folded at your corners. Okay, and you're going to line it all up. And I'm going to go ahead and put some clips in here. Okay, and if you prefer using pins, use pins. Okay, now it's roughly put together. I'm going to kind of nest in these box pleats a little bit just to, because these are exactly the same size. Yes, the inside is going to stick out a little bit higher than the outside piece. So I'm kind of working on that. Okay, so now basically what you're going to do is sew like a 1/4 inch seam all the way around, and I work with the inside layer on top. And yes, these little folded pieces sometimes want to come out, so all I need to do is I'm going to come in and do a couple of extra clips along these edges. To line them up. Look at that, how my checkers lined up. I'm so clever. No, I'm not. Okay, there is your clipped together bowl cozy, okay? Now we're going to sew it. The trick, and this was a tip I saw someone on YouTube. I watched so many different people do this. I don't know who said it. But don't start at the corner and don't start at the boxed pleat seam. Start just before the boxed pleat seam and then start sewing around. Okay, you are going to nest these together. Okay, and you can put a clip on it, although it's going to get in the way. I'm going to start right in here. If my clip is going to let me, I may have to move the clip. So I am lining up these two seams Getting it underneath. Okay, so I'm going about 1 inch from the boxed pleat seam, and I'm gonna go about 1/4 inch, maybe a little less. So I'm gonna start with my back stitch. Okay, now we're good. Now, this is a very thick layer. You want, first of all, to make sure everything is lined up on the edges. And you are going to kind of make a V. You're going to stitch this way, and then you're going to rotate just a little bit and start stitching out here, okay? So. Okay, let me rotate. I've got my needle down, and if you need to, you can manually adjust that so that you can lift your presser foot, I think that's what it's called, and keep going. There we go. Now I can take my clips off as I go. Always, okay, get to the corner. Let me go 1 more stitch. And then keep your needle down, lift the presser foot, and rotate or pivot, whatever you want to call it. Line it up. I'm a little bit further out. We're going to come in a little bit. Now, remember, you're going to get to this nested seam. Make sure they're lined up before you get there. Oh, I just messed it up. Line it up. And it doesn't matter which version of bowl cozy you make. This is the trickiest part. Rotate it slightly. Go ahead and take that clip off. I'm going to go ahead and take that off, and there we go. And I'm going to overlap just slightly and then do my back stitch, and we are done. Literally done. You don't have to press this if you don't want to. You can take it right downstairs, make yourself a bowl of soup or heat up leftovers. And I will show you mine. There we are. Now, you'll have to nestle this in. Once you have used it a couple of times, it really holds its shape. There is your bowl cozy, and it is reversible. You can flip it this way, whichever you want. And if you feel like, you know, your middle layers are not connected, okay? So if you would rather, you can come back in and sew back over your X. Make sure it's lined up so that it stays together, but I'm not going to worry about that. That is completely optional. But there is my version of the bowl cozy, so my edges are nice and neat. I have just a little bit of extra height to it. It's not too short, and it's going to fit a nice standard bowl. Here it is. Here is our bowl cozy. So cute. You could make it a bigger square if you want it to be taller, or if you want it to be wider. If you want it to be taller, make your little box pleats go deeper into the fabric. If you want it to be wider, make these a little more shallow, and you can also make your square bigger. So enjoy. I hope that you guys get a chance to stay warm while we have this storm coming through, and maybe make a bowl cozy or two to make it a little easier on you to heat up that food and leftovers. Thanks for being on Created in Awe. Have a great day.